Welcome back to Varsity College Football, your new home for college football and only college football. Never would have thought my first segment in my new setup would be a Bama segment, but here we are. So, do not overlook Kalen DeBoer. Look, Bama is not going away, and I hate to break it to you, they're not, but not in a way that you think. I'm not saying they're going to carry the eliteness. First thing I want to say before I start is the difference between the media and the people. The media and the people, which is always an ongoing battle, regardless of whatever you want to talk about. But I feel like we have the headline grabbers and the doomers, and that's where most of this is being battled out with all of this DeBoer jazz, you know? And I feel like all of us know the real situation is Bama's not falling and they're not rising. They're leveling back out. That's basically what's happening. They're falling back into the 1%. They created a new tier of 0.001% where they basically had the college football world in their hand and held on to it with Saban. But now they're back into the elite program status, which is still where anyone else wants to be. I mean, a bad Bama, not a bad Bama. We've seen a bad Bama, but it's not like bad, which I'm going to say something in a second, which you'll be like, wow, that's kind of crazy regarding bad Bama. But Bama going back, leveling back out, still better than 98% of college football, 99% of college football. Sucks to hear that, but that's just the truth. It's Alabama. It's the A. It's script A. That's what it is. But this is what I wanted to say. If I'm correct from what I was looking at, since 1958, Alabama has only 5 losing seasons, even with the coaches that they've considered back. And since 1920, all coaches outside of Jennings Whitworth, who coached in the mid-50s, even the awful ones, like I said, have at least had a season of 10 games, even coaches who have been there short term. So if DeBoer doesn't work out long term and he's only here for a short amount of time, who's to say he can't have one successful season? So basically, what I want to talk about with the media thing is we have the doomers, like I said, and then the media people who seem like they're sunshine pumping, keeping Bama alive. But I think most people are kind of confused because most media, I think, is trying to tell you that they are leveling back out, but they're not going to fall down like the media are thinking. Most people are thinking like the doomers, and the normal people are thinking, most media are thinking like the sunshine pumpers, when we're all kind of on the same thing. I feel like the media is trying to tell us, look, Bama's just falling back to the 1%. After they went above and created their own thing, now they're back to the 1%. And I feel like the people, like I said, think they're sunshine pumping or saying more than that, but they're not. And then the media thinks the people are dooming when the people are saying the same thing, but they're going at each other because it's kind of based emotionally. Because most of the time people interact with each other, it's one from the far side of either or talking to a level-headed person. And here we like to keep things level-headed. College football is a crazy world. Most of it is chaos, but I like to talk with logic, reason. And like, look, I'm an Auburn fan and I'm sitting here talking about telling you not to overlook Kalen DeBoer. So, but not in that sunshine pumping way, because there's still a bunch of that still think there's negatives to this hire. I think there's more negatives than positives. But the weird thing is one positive, I guess, outweighs the negative to me. I don't really know how I can put it besides what I'll tell you, but let me just get into that. I just wanted to address that media thing because I feel like we're all kind of trying to say the same thing, that Bama's kind of leveling back out, but we all think each other side is saying something way more extreme than it actually is. So with Kalen DeBoer, like I said, the hires to me aren't that impressive. People have hired head coaches before. The defensive coordinator hires not that impressive. The Ryan Grubb is great. That is a great get, though. Can't knock that at all. Not any bit, not at all. His recruiting's not good, but the thing with him and his recruiting not being good, he's always been able to get the most out of his players, which is very impressive, which I'll talk about in a minute. And then he's at Bama, though. Bama can recruit itself, even when it's not that great, still recruits well. But the standard that Saban set is still going to be able to recruit DeBoer a little bit in the early days. I heard someone kind of mention Ryan Day as an example, coming off of Urban, kind of getting that early title look and stuff like that. And then obviously Bama smacked the crap out of him. And just that, which isn't a bad comparison, like once he actually gets his recruiting classes in and cycles in. But DeBoer, I feel like if he has a lower recruiting class, he can make them perform to the level and coach them to the level of a high recruiting class. So let's say Bama has like the 8th or 9th ranked overall roster. I feel like he could make them perform like a 4th ranked team roster, like things like that. His coaching is exceptional. His X's and O's is incredible. We'll just have to wait and see on the recruiting thing. The Ryan Williams thing was great, but it was kind of a recommit, obviously. But Ryan Williams will be using his scheme I talked about in a previous video with Bama. But the one thing outside of all that, the hires, blah, 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 the X's and O's, it's going to be a different style of Alabama football, that West Coast, full on West Coast style, which is going to be different even for Bama fans to adapt to us. Like me knowing it my whole life, like being Bama's rival. I mean, it's going to be a weird way. No one can really put their finger on it. It's going to be an interesting feeling under DeBoer. Obviously, it's weird seeing Saban not walk out of that tunnel. But here's the thing. This is why Bama's still going to be Bama, and we can't overlook Kalen DeBoer, man. No matter what puzzle pieces he's given, no matter what hand he is dealt, he wins. And that's what scares me more than anything, because look, you can say a con is he's not from the South, blah, 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 blah. And then obviously people point towards the exception, not the rule. They'll be like, Saban wasn't from the South, Urban was from the South. Well, no shit, man. They're like two of the best coaches ever. Well, one of them is the best coach ever. Urban, I would say, is up there. He's one of my favorite regarding, I know everyone hates a lot of other stuff around him, but man, he won. That's what he did. That's what you do. That's what your job is there to do, is to win. And that's what Kalen DeBoer does best, is win, regardless of all the other stuff around football. He wins. And that's what scares me, because that's the perfect kind of guy to come in after Saban. No one's going to be able to recruit like Saban. No one's going to be able to do this. No one's going to be able to do that like Saban. So that's going to be the same for everyone who gets hired. But the thing is, Kalen DeBoer wins better than almost anybody, except obviously like Kirby Smart. There's a few exceptions. But that's what scares me. 9 seasons as a head coach. He's 104-12. That's including NAIA. If you want to, I know people say, don't count that. It's coaching, dude. It is coaching at a level of college. It counts. Okay? It counts. And you're also at a level where everyone's kind of equal at that level. Now he's at a place with even more support and everything. And he was 25-3 at Washington, obviously made the national championship, won the Pac-12 championship, and he recorded the most wins in Washington history in a season with 14 this year. He was the first Washington coach to win 11 or more games in consecutive seasons. Yeah, a very historical West Coast program, Washington. The first coach to do that. I found that very surprising, actually. First to win a bowl game in his initial season with Washington. Another shocking stat right there. Back-to-back Pac-12 Coach of the Year honors, obviously. His teams were 10-1 against ranked teams, man. 10-1. That's almost not fair. And the loss was a national championship, man. The loss was a natty. He spent 2 seasons at Fresno State, went 9-3 in 2021. The offense was finished first in the Mountain West Conference. They were 14th in the nation. This dude can put up points. Just his scheme works, dude. His offense is wild. Oh, man, it's crazy. He was on staff at Indiana. This is the craziest thing to me. It's his time at Indiana. Because as you know, sorry, Indiana, shit fest right here. Like the losingest program in college football, man. Like Indiana is I don't know. I guess the North Vanderbilt, but it's not like Vanderbilt because it's Indiana, Vandy's Vandy, whatever. He was on staff as offensive coordinator and QB coach. They went 8-5 and they went to a bowl game. They're like 8-5. Oh, okay. Guys, that was their first 8-win season since 1993. I didn't exist. I wasn't alive. This body was not here on this earth. They had the number 3 offense in the Big Ten. I know people say, oh, year in, year out, sometimes the Big Ten has some weird offensive stuff going on. But still, it's Indiana, dude. Stuff like basically what he did at Indiana, an 8-5 record. They don't even do that much. They hardly ever. I mean, shoot, the first time since 1993, they had won 8 games. That's terrible, which they are terrible. But he did that at a place that you basically can't win, which is insane. Offensive coordinator at Fresno State. His second year there, they won a school record 12 games when he was offensive coordinator, and they finished in the top 25, top 20 at rank 18. At Fresno State, set the school record there after doing something at Indiana that hadn't been done in a long time as a coordinator. Then obviously, here's the NAIA stuff that people don't like to talk about. 67-3 overall record, 49-1 in conference play, 3 national championships, a semifinal, and semifinal in his first season, and a runner-up in between his championships. Yeah, he went to the championship 4 years in a row. I mean, regardless of any level, that's ridiculous. If you do it at high school football and you're a coach, I think that's ridiculous because it's hard. It's hard to win. Winning is hard, whatever level you coach at. And that's all he currently does. And that's what scares me because even bad Bama, there have been bad, but like I said, only 5 losing seasons since 1958. Even not great Bama teams and not great coaches who haven't been there long have still had at least a successful season. DeBoer, like Michael Penix said, I believe he said earlier today, he sees him winning a national championship soon. I can see DeBoer being a national championship coach. I'm not saying a multiple one like Saban. I don't think anyone's going to be able to replicate that, okay? No one's going to, especially in the 12-team playoff area. You're going to have to win multiple crazy hard games. It's going to be tough. But can he win one? Yeah. If he wins one in a decade, That's still better than 99% of college football. Like, that's still insanely hard and successful to do. And the one thing that scares me the most, like I said, anyone you hire isn't going to be able to do all the external things better than Saban. And Kalen DeBoer obviously can't either. But you know what he does, like I said, better than most of everybody else, like more than 99% of other people in the country? He just wins. And that's what scares me.